Napoleon Hill. Discipline is the true prayer. What if I told you that every morning when you wake up, you are already holding the answer to every prayer you have ever prayed? Yet most people spend their entire lives begging God for things they already possess. What if I told you that Napoleon Hill in his deepest spiritual contemplations discovered that discipline is not just a pathway to success, but the most profound form of worship, the truest prayer you can offer to the divine force that breathed life into your lungs? This is not another shallow motivational speech about working harder or pushing through obstacles. This is about understanding that your very existence is God-esque response to the ultimate prayer, and every disciplined action you take is your response back to Him. When you opened your eyes this morning, whether you realized it or not, you were witnessing a miracle that billions of people throughout history would have given anything to experience one more time. The gift of consciousness, the blessing of breath, the sacred opportunity to participate in the grand theater of existence. Napoleon Hill understood something that escapes most people entirely. God has already answered your most fundamental prayer by giving you life itself. And now the conversation between you and the divine continues, not through words whispered in desperation, but through the disciplined choices you make with the precious hours you have been granted. Every single morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierce through the darkness, there is a silent battle being waged between two types of people. Those who understand that their life is a sacred trust that demands reverence through action, and those who treat their existence as a casual gift that requires no gratitude, no effort, no conscious participation in their own becoming. The disciplined soul rises before the world awakens, not because they are masochistic or obsessed with productivity, but because they recognize that these quiet hours before dawn are when the conversation with God is most clear, when the noise of the world has not yet drowned out the whisper of divine purpose that calls them toward their highest self. While others sleep through the alarm, that could have been their wake-up call to greatness. The disciplined person understands that every moment of comfort they choose over growth is a small act of ingratitude toward the God who trusted them with the gift of consciousness. Hill discovered that discipline is not about depriving yourself of pleasure or punishing yourself for past failures. Discipline is about recognizing that your life is not your own, that you are a steward of divine potential, and that every lazy morning, every procrastinated task, every excuse you make for not becoming who you could be is a betrayal of the sacred contract you entered into the moment you drew your first breath. The difference between those who are truly living and those who are merely existing lies not in their circumstances, their backgrounds, or their natural talents, but in their willingness to treat each day as a sacred opportunity to demonstrate their worthiness of the life they have been given. The person who is truly alive wakes up each morning with the understanding that they are not entitled to another day, that their heartbeat is not guaranteed, that their consciousness is a loan from the universe that could be called in at any moment. And this awareness fills them with a sense of urgency that transforms every mundane action into an act of worship. Meanwhile, the person who is merely existing moves through their days like a sleepwalker, treating their life as if it were a permanent possession rather than a temporary gift. Assuming that tomorrow will always come, that opportunities will always be available, that the fire of inspiration will somehow ignite, without the kindling of disciplined action. They pray for motivation to strike them like lightning, for circumstances to align perfectly, for the perfect moment when everything will feel easy and natural, never understanding that God-esque response to such prayers is always the same. I have already given you everything you need. A mind capable of making decisions, a body capable of taking action, and a spirit capable of transcending any limitation you impose upon yourself. Napoleon Hill realized that the most powerful phrase in any language is not "I love you" or "I am sorry," or even, I believe, the most transformative phrase. The one that bridges the gap between human weakness and divine strength is simply "do it now." These three words contain within them the entire secret of spiritual obedience, the complete formula for transforming prayer from passive begging into active collaboration with the forces of creation. When you say, "Do it now," and then immediately follow through with action, you are not just completing a task. You are declaring to the universe that you understand the sacred nature of the present moment, that you refuse to waste the breath God has given you on hesitation, procrastination, or the paralyzing pursuit of perfection. Every time you feel the impulse to do something that would move you closer to your highest self and you immediately act on that impulse without negotiation, without delay, without the need to feel motivated or inspired, you are engaging in the purest form of prayer. The kind of prayer that requires no words because it is spoken through the language of disciplined action. The person who has mastered the art of do it now has discovered the secret that Napoleon Hill spent decades trying to articulate. That God does not respond to your words, your wishes, or your wants. God responds to your willingness to take immediate action on the opportunities He places before you. Your self-image. That internal picture you carry of who you are and what you are capable of is not just a psychological concept or a motivational tool. It is the mirror in which God sees His own reflection through your actions. The canvas on which the divine artist paints the masterpiece of your becoming. When you maintain an unshakable self-image of someone who honors their commitments, who follows through on their promises, who treats their word as sacred and their time as precious, you are not just building confidence you are aligning yourself with the creative force of the universe, becoming a conscious participant in the ongoing miracle of existence. But here is where most people stumble and fall into the trap that keeps them ordinary, mediocre, and spiritually bankrupt. They confuse motivation with discipline, thinking that they need to feel inspired before they can act with purpose, believing that they should wait for the right mood, the perfect circumstances, or the magical moment when everything aligns before they begin the work of becoming who they were meant to be. This is not just a practical mistake. It is a spiritual heresy, a fundamental misunderstanding of how God operates in the world, and through the lives of those who are willing to serve as vessels for divine will. Motivation is nothing more than a temporary emotional state, a fleeting feeling that comes and goes like weather patterns, unreliable as morning mist and as changeable as human mood. The person who depends on motivation to drive their actions is like someone who only prays when they feel like praying, who only loves when love feels easy, who only serves when service feels convenient. They've confused the temporary excitement of inspiration with the permanent commitment of dedication. And this confusion keeps them trapped in cycles of starting and stopping, beginning and abandoning, promising and betraying not just themselves but the God who trusted them with the capacity to choose their response to life's challenges. Discipline, on the other hand, is not an emotion or a feeling. It is a decision that transcends emotion, a commitment that operates independently of circumstances, a form of spiritual obedience that says to God, I will honor the life you have given me, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what obstacles appear, regardless of whether anyone notices or appreciates my efforts. When you choose discipline over motivation, you are choosing to operate from a higher plane of existence, to align yourself with forces that are more permanent and powerful than the shifting sands of human emotion. The disciplined person does not wake up early because they feel like waking up early. They wake up early because they have decided that their life is too precious to waste on the luxury of sleeping in, because they understand that the quiet hours before the world awakens are when they can commune most clearly with their highest self and receive the guidance they need for the day ahead. They do not exercise because they enjoy the discomfort of pushing their body beyond its comfort zone. They exercise because they recognize that their physical vessel is a temple that deserves to be maintained with the same reverence they would show to any sacred space. They do not work on their goals when they feel motivated. They work on their goals especially when they do feel motivated, because they understand that this is when discipline matters most, when the gap between who they are and who they could become is bridged. Not by inspiration, but by the steady, unglamorous, persistent application of effort in the direction of their dreams. Every morning when they choose to get out of bed, despite wanting to stay under the covers every evening, when they choose to work on their projects despite feeling tired every moment, when they choose growth over comfort, they are not just building better habits. They are having a conversation with God through the language of consistent action. The most profound truth that Napoleon Hill discovered is that God is always watching, not as a judge waiting to punish your failures, but as a proud parent, observing to see whether you will make the most of the gifts you have been given. Every discipline choice you make is observed and recorded in the cosmic ledger of your character. Every moment when you choose the difficult right over the easy wrong is noted and celebrated in the invisible realms, where your true progress is measured not by external achievements, but by internal transformation. When you choose to wake up at 5 in the morning, while others sleep until 8, you are not just gaining 3 hours of productivity. You are declaring to the universe that you value the gift of consciousness more than you value the comfort of unconsciousness. When you choose to work on your dreams during the time others spend watching television or scrolling through social media, you are not just building skills or making progress. You are demonstrating that you understand the sacred nature of time and your responsibility to use it in service of becoming the person God envisioned when He breathed life into your body. The path of discipline is often lonely, because most people cannot understand why you would choose difficulty when ease is available, why you would select sacrifice when indulgence is offered, why you would embrace the discomfort of growth when the comfort of stagnation requires no effort. But this loneliness is not a punishment. It is a purification, a necessary separation from the crowd that allows you to hear your own inner voice more clearly, to feel the pull of your authentic purpose without the distraction of other people's opinions, expectations, and limitations. In the silence of early mornings, in the solitude of late nights, when you are working while others are sleeping, in the isolation that comes from choosing a path that few are willing to walk, you discover that you are never truly alone because you are accompanied by the invisible presence of every person throughout history. Understood that life is not a casual experience, but a sacred assignment that demands your very best effort. You are walking in the footsteps of everyone who ever chose discipline over impulse, commitment over convenience, character over comfort. The broken clock on your wall that stopped working months ago is not just a reminder that time passes whether you use it well or waste it. It is a symbol of what happens to people who stop making the effort to grow, to change, to become more than they were yesterday. Just as that clock still looks like it should be functioning but no longer serves its purpose, people who abandon discipline may still appear to be alive, but have stopped participating in the sacred dance of becoming that gives life its meaning and purpose. Every candle that burns in the darkness of your disciplined solitude is not just providing light for your work. It is a flame that connects you to the divine fire that burns within your soul. A physical representation of the spiritual light that grows brighter with every disciplined choice. You make every promise you keep to yourself. Every moment when you choose to honor the highest version of yourself despite the temptation to settle for something less. God has already answered your prayers by giving you breath, consciousness, the capacity to choose, and the opportunity to participate in the grand adventure of existence. The question that will determine whether you live a life of meaning or a life of regret is not whether you will face challenges, obstacles, or moments when you do own it, feel like continuing. The question is whether you will respond to these inevitable difficulties with the discipline that demonstrates your gratitude for the gift of life, or with the laziness that betrays your lack of appreciation for the sacred trust you have been given. Right now, in this very moment, your next breath is not guaranteed. Your next heartbeat is not promised. Your next opportunity to make a choice that honors your highest self is not assured. The time for waiting, for preparing, for getting ready to begin is over. The time for disciplined action that serves as your truest prayer, your most authentic worship. Your deepest expression of gratitude to the God who trusted you with the miracle of consciousness is now